Hello, my name is Oleksandr Zalugovskiy and I'm a project manager with PortaOne. Today let's talk about the Zero Downtime Update solution that PortaOne has been offering since 2013, when we released PortaSwitch maintenance release number 35. That makes this the 10th anniversary of this solution, with many Zero Downtime updates completed successfully within that decade. So what is Zero Downtime Update and why do you need it? In general, updating your system to a new release is always a challenging task. Whether that system is your personal Wi-Fi router or a powerful PortaSwitch server that supports tens of thousands of customers. If you have ever gone through such an update, then I can guess at the questions that you have, such as: how long will it take? Will the updates be applied correctly to all the system components involved? And if something goes wrong, will I be able to get my system back to its former operational state? PortaOne has many options that can address all of these concerns, including our particular approach to the traditional update, our dual version PortaSwitch solution, and, of course, the main topic of this video, our Zero Downtime Update solution. Today, I'm going to talk about how this solution ensures that you are able to perform software updates without any noticeable impact on the end users. First, let's talk about what infrastructure you will need for this solution. Zero Downtime Update utilizes PortaSwitch site redundancy architecture, and that means at least two sites are required. During the update of the main site, the secondary site will handle calls made by end users, as well as charging requests from the network. You can find out more about PortaSwitch deployment across multiple sites using the links in the video description. Now, how does our Zero Downtime Update solution work? A Zero Downtime Update is performed using the following procedure. First, if your system currently has only one site, then the second site needs to be installed and provisioned. There is also one additional component that will need to be added if you do not already have it, and that is the Dispatching Service Border Controller, which is usually called the Dispatching SBC or sometimes DSBC. This component makes sure that requests such as call initiations are always properly directed between the two systems. Next, the PortaOne support team and your staff will work together to complete all of the usual update preparation, such as custom modification analysis and the hardware check for compatibility, for example with the new operating system. Once that is completed, the secondary site, also called Site B, will be switched to standalone mode so that it starts processing all user activities using its local copy of your database. This is when the dispatching SBC will start sending all new registrations and call initiation attempts to Site B. For active calls that are ongoing at this moment, they will remain connected until they are completed, even though PortaSIP on the main site A has been switched to maintenance mode. After all existing calls are completed on site A and there is no more live traffic there, that's when the update process begins. A new version of the PortaSwitch code is installed on all site A servers and the database changes are applied. Then, the site A servers are rebooted, excluding the dispatching SBC. On its side, the dispatching SBC cluster undergoes the update process sequentially. First, standby mode is enabled on the first dispatching SBC node. The virtual IP address is then switched to the second node, which becomes active and handles all call and registration requests. Then, the update process starts on the first node. Throughout this time, customers are able to use services as usual through the Site B. Calls are charged, balances are updated accordingly, and XDRs are written to the database. When the update is completed on Site A and all services there are verified to be working properly, Site A is activated. The synchronization process with Site B begins, and changes in balances and XDRs accumulated on Site B while it was operating in standalone mode are applied to the main database on Site A. Now, all new customer calls are directed to Site A, using the same tools as I described earlier. Any calls in progress on Site B finish normally and without interruption, just like with the initial switch from Site A to Site B. When Site B has fully synchronized its data with Site A and there are no more leave calls ongoing, the update process begins again on Site B. All of the changes in the database structure are replicated over from Site A, a new version of the software is installed, and the Site B servers are rebooted. Finally, when the update finishes, Site B returns to its standard operational mode. The PortaSwitch servers there can be used in conjunction with the main site to process calls. The billing servers and database are in standby mode, and data changes on Site A are continuously replicated to Site B, so it has always an up-to-date copy of all service configurations. So that's how the Zero Downtime Update process works in PortaSwitch. Before we finish this video, there are a few things to keep in mind. There is a certain set of limitations that always apply to standalone mode in Zero Downtime Update. For example, it will use the service configuration that has already been created by administrators, and customers cannot change their settings while the system is in standalone mode. This includes changes to call forwarding and so on. You can find the complete list of restrictions and limitations using the link in the video description. Also, just like with a traditional update, with the Zero Downtime Update solution, it's only possible to update to the nearest long-term support release, also called an LTS release. These maintenance releases are the ones that end in a 0 or a 5, such as 100 or 105. So, to reach a version that is higher than that nearest release, you will need to perform multiple updates. For example, if your system version is MR83 and you want to jump to MR95, you first need to update to MR85, and then to MR90, and after that to MR95. If something goes wrong during any of these updates, you can perform a rollback to the previous release version. The next consideration is that Zero Downtime Update solution, in addition to having a secondary site, requires a main site extension with dispatching SBC instances. You can find out more about dispatching SBC using the link in the video description. Zero Downtime Update solution, your Network Access Server or NAS, must support two connections, both active and fallback. Your engineers should configure the active connection to send requests to the radio server on the main site and the fallback connection to send requests to the radio server on the secondary site. During the update, the Network Access Server can automatically switch from the active to the fallback connection and back. If it happens that the Network Access Server isn't capable of switching the connection automatically, your engineers should manually switch it from the active to the fallback connection when the main site is in maintenance mode, and then switch it back to the active connection when the update on the main site has been completed. Now, let's sum up everything you need to know about the Zero Downtime Update solution from PortaOne. This solution is the ideal option for any business that is concerned about downtime during a PortaSwitch update. It is also ideal if you want to improve the redundancy and high availability of your PortaSwitch system while it's in a normal operating mode. If you want to compare the Zero Downtime Update option with the dual version PortaSwitch option so you can better understand whether these two solutions can be combined together, please watch my other video on this topic. You can find a link to it in the description of this video. As a last note, it's important to mention that this solution has already passed the test of time. In fact, according to our ticketing system, PortaOne has conducted more than 150 Zero Downtime Updates, including staging systems, since 2013. Thank you for watching, and I hope you found this information useful. If this is something you are interested in, please reach out to PortaOne using the contact details in the description of this video. If you want to hear more insights about using PortaOne solutions, you can subscribe to our channel. Meanwhile, I will see you in my next video.